makes the late Sir Ketumile Masire one of the most respected leaders in Africa. To what extent has Sir Masire contributed to peace and stability in the continent? And what can current leaders in the continent learn from Sir Masire? Which role did Botswana play in South Africa's struggle for freedom? What time is it? It's question time. Khotong and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Former President of Botswana, Sir Ketumile Masire, passed away at the age of 91 in the capital city Gaborone last week. Sir Masire took the reins of power following the death of the country's first president, Sir Seretse Khama, in 1980. Khama had assumed power in 1966 when the Southern African country gained independence from Britain. Masire is commended for presiding over a stable and peaceful government for close to a decade. He is also hailed for his statesmanship, having been appointed chairperson of the International Panel of Eminent Personalities. The panel investigated circumstances surrounding the Rwandan Genocide in the 1990s and facilitated the Inter-Congolese National Dialogue. Masire handed power peacefully to Mr Festus Mogae in 1998. South Africa and Botswana have a special relationship with the country, having contributed significantly to South Africa's struggle for freedom. Many freedom fighters who were exiled to Botswana regarded it as a home away from home. We are live, and you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. And today on Question Time, my guest Strike Tukwani. He is the national president of the Azanian People's Organization, and Philip Dlamini, who is from the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, the PAC. And we were expecting to be joined by Mongane Walisorote, who's an ANC veteran, but as you know that the veterans of the ANC have just pronounced on some major plans, and therefore he's unable to join us today. But before we get into today's discussion, let's take a look at the following clip.
We resisted pressure from these two regimes who constantly threatened us with their economic and military power to stop allowing freedom fighters, members from the liberation movements, and pro-democracy activists from entering Botswana.
Okay, that was the president of Botswana, Rwandan Khama, who was paying tribute to Tate Masire there. But we'll try and get hold of our correspondent, or rather our foreign editor, Sophie Mukwena, who should be able to talk to us and just give us the latest from that side. I don't know, Sophie, if you can hear me, just give us the latest. How have proceedings been going? We saw quite an esteemed delegation of African leaders at the service.
Yes, indeed, a very good send-off for former President Masire. Among those who attended the funeral today, it's almost all the former presidents of this region, that is the SADC region. I'm talking about Namibia, Mozambique, Zambia, South Africa, and also the king from Lesotho. Of course, President Rwandan Mugabe, the current president of Zimbabwe. And also some dignitaries, including the former OAU Secretary General, Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim, who was at some point in time the president of Tanzania. And we also had Mo Ibrahim, Mo Ibrahim, one of the leaders on the continent. He was here also to say farewell to Ketumile Masire.
Now, Sophie, he is hailed as one of those rare breeds voluntarily handing over power, and perhaps there are some of those leaders who are supposed to take note or a leaf out of his book.
You know what? You know that at some point in time there was a strong statement from President Khama about the situation in Zimbabwe, where he criticized President Robert Mugabe. And people were asking questions in terms of whether the fact that President Mugabe was going to attend the funeral and President Khama being a host, the tension in the room. But it was so easy for President Khama to crack jokes with President Mugabe, and also President Mugabe talking about Khama. But clearly, indirectly, there were some messages that said the leaders on the continent must learn to hand power when it's still, when they are still popular, rather than staying in power for too long. For example, he cited an example, Khama, that making a joke that his father ruled Botswana for 14 years, Sir Ketumile Masire 18 years, him and Mr Festus Mogae only 10 years, that is 2 terms. And he wants his vice president, who is currently contesting the position of the president of the party, and perhaps he's likely to be the president next year if he gets elected at the party level, that he must be careful. He may just get 5 years. And one could understand that he was sending a message that sometimes don't stay for too long. And when people are saying it's enough, just go.
Sophie Mkwana, thank you very much for giving us that update there coming from Botswana. Let's get to our discussion right here in studio. And indeed, you can call us 089-1104-210. Botswana ba gaetso re ka itumella go utlwa go tswa go lona go Botswana go tswa gone fa Africa borwa gore amme re Masire le tla mo gopola go ntse jang. Let me welcome you. You spent time in Botswana, and it was the hospitality of leaders such as Masire that kept you safe in Botswana, bearing in mind that one of your predecessors in leadership in the BCM, Tiro, had been murdered within the borders of Botswana.
Indeed, we were very young. From 1976, we were very young. We had hardly known how to set up a family. And we left home, our parents and everything that we had, education and all. And we found a home from home, away from home. One of the things that actually scored in our advantage is that he married a South African lady, and we knew that we were safe in that. Now, the big challenge in Botswana is that when Seretse passed on, the question was whether the next president could fit in his shoes, because he was a very, very, very revered and big statesperson.
Yes.
Statesman who had married a British lady. And Ketumile Masire, in his humility, very, very humble, walked in those shoes, and there were no issues. Remember what you call SADC. Then it was the Frontline states.
Yes.
And Zimbabwe was at war. Then Rhodesia. Namibia, then Southwest Africa was at war.
Yes. So
and Angola and the region was just in turmoil.
Yeah.
And Botswana was just in the front line, right adjacent to South Africa. The raids were taking place, and pressure was mounting that we should be gotten rid of.
Yes.
Because we are bringing trouble to Botswana.
Yes.
But he stood with us, he stood by us, especially those of us from the Black Consciousness movement. Remember that when we got to exile in the early 70s, already the OAU had decided that there'll only be 2 liberation movements from South Africa.
Okay.
The ANC and the PAC.
Yes.
So the PAC struggled to get that recognition. Now it was going to be something else to get it for the 3rd organization.
Okay.
But that notwithstanding, the leadership of Tautona, Ketumile Masire, gave us a home.
Okay.
And we're quite comfortable, irrespective of that people were dying. Zero had just been murdered, but we were just...
you found a home there?
Yes, our father.
Okay. Excuse me. Radamin,
that
you went in and out of Botswana to assist APLA cadres, the PAC in Botswana, meeting with Masire and all that. Just give us a bit of that.
Let me start by saying we are talking about a great man. He studied in South Africa.
Yes.
He was in the same school with senior leaders of PAC, Mogae, and he had a very close relation with Tate Mutupi.
Okay.
Now, I have not met him personally. I've turned a distance away because my generation allowed the seniors to lead, and we did the work.
Okay.
Now, we are talking about an engineer. We are talking about a glue. When they achieved their independence, he understood very well the politics of South Africa, the politics of liberation movements. At the same time, he was able to translate and put it into his condition in Botswana, and his party benefited heavily from that. That's why Sir Seretse Khama could rely on this great man.
Okay.
The very important thing that I want to highlight to you, there are small parties in Botswana, yet he looked after them. He gave them space to breed. He made sure that they exist. They are not suppressed.
Okay.
If you compare to other countries.
Okay. Hold it there. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion paying tribute to Ketumile Masire. 089-110-4210 is the number to dial. We shall return. The thing.
The only way to pour the perfect beer, this professional barman would tell you, is into a glass tilted at exactly 45 degrees. Oh, bless you. Bless you, sir. Bless you again. Well, we'd say the perfect way to pour a beer is at this angle, straight into your mouth. Tops its bar. Good beer, good advice, no Ponzi beer stuff.
As one after the other of these outposts fell, such that after the liberation of my own country in South Africa in 1994, Africa could at last say it had finally liberated itself from the scourge of colonialism and white minority rule which had affected our continent for 500 years.
I knew him as a great patriot, a great nationalist, a great Pan-Africanist, and a great internationalist. He's a man of great conscience, a person who was driven by the desire to see both peace, stability, but also development.
Former President of Tanzania there, Benjamin Mkapa, preceded by President Thabo Mbeki. We'll continue our discussion paying tribute to Ketumile Masire. Lavi, you are in Volmaranstad. Welcome. Okay, Lavi is no longer there. My guest today, Strike Tokwane, is the president of AZAPO, and Tati Philip Dlamini is a PAC veteran, and we're talking the life and times of Sir Ketumile Masire. Now, Dr. Tokwane, did the government of Botswana not collaborate with the apartheid government to, well, not to give you peace, basically?
Not at all. Instead, the government of Botswana worked together with freedom-loving countries in the continent and in Southern Africa in particular. Like I said, to an extent where there will be raids into the country. And the ordinary people would really feel restive and feel unsafe to the extent where they say maybe refugees, as we were called then, should move on so that they can live in peace. But we were given sanctuary. We were given some kind of stipend, which stipend could have been stolen or used by the president and his entourage and the people of Botswana, but nothing of the sort. We were given houses to stay in those houses. The conditions were not just a lump of sugar, it was tough, but what we knew is that we had a caring government. Now remember that when you are in the struggle, you also want to see yourself with those who are moving along your ideological and political line. So we tended to move on or along with the opposition because of their socialist stand and the rhetoric they were coming up with of liberation and so on, and were criticizing the ruling party, the Tom Grach, and we move along with BNF. But the tolerance, the democracy was amazing.
Hold it there. Let's take Tsepiso. Tsepiso, you are in Zeras. Welcome.
Ketumile Masire le Seretse Khama gane batho masola MK ba kgabaganya ka motse wa ga rona wa dinokana ba tiela go botsaka le go Botswana kwana nna re Ketumile Masire ne ke mo itse le morua khomo so as hanne ke etela go Botswana ke feta go motseng wa Kanye ke thola ke feta go ga fale ne le motho le rato ne le motho a mogelang batho ba botlhe ya no ke rata gore ba ngwa ke tsi botlhe fela go lefatshe la Botswana le Botswana botlhe ka karetso gore ba go botsege le re Ian Khama le go bona ga go le ithute thata go mo motlhalo ga re Masire ka ke le go le leng gore le fapogile motlhalo ga re Masire ya no ke a le go ga mfo ke le go le tsono ena go tsena mo mowe ka le go
lebogile nna go tsoka go Zaras go dinokana go ga botiro Dr. Dlamini, what the Tokwane is saying here, the tolerance and the hospitality which was given to the freedom fighters and liberation movement in Botswana. But do we as South Africans appreciate the role which Botswana played in the liberation of our country enough?
Let me start by saying we have not acknowledged a number of Botswanas who died when the PAC cadres were raided and killed. A number of Botswanas died there. And that actually coverage has never been done.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you look at Botswana, in early days, you had Rhodesia, you had Southwest Africa, you had South Africa here. I don't want to talk about Angola. In that situation, it was dependent on South Africa because it is landlocked.
Yes.
But they were able to balance, and I like to talk about balance.
Yes.
On one hand, he had to maintain the relationship with South Africa.
Yes.
In order that Botswana should not starve to death.
Yes.
At At the same time, he turned a blind eye on our fighters coming in. Let me tell you one important thing that the report I got from Ndadem Tupi.
Yes.
He said, take the responsibility, because his talk with the president of Botswana was that Botswana will turn a blind eye when our fighters come in. But if they see them, they'll lock them up, because that information will have come from South Africa.
Okay.
And it did that. Yes, and I can safely say to you, he was a man of his word.
Hold it there. Let's take Winston. Winston is calling us from Botswana. Winston, welcome.
Dumela ntate.
Dumela, Re Winston.
Ke ratela ke le mo Gaborone.
Ra leboga.
Nya ke go leboga botshelo ja ga raro na tautona Ketumile Masire.
Re reditse.
Ra nya ra o re pusitse ka bonoko pila. Ba le rato ana le neelano. A dirisana le baagisane bo South Africa, bo Namibia, bo Zimbabwe. Ne se motho o na ga rata apartheid. O na bua ka bo Peter Botha, o pas for food. Ba ne ba gatelela batho bantsho ba South Africa. E ra itumela ralo bolweng le rona. Ana konta ga ntse go tsa kutlwe le le boga ma South Africa. Le ra ke ne ke re tswelele le batho bantsho re supe go ra hisanya gore matlo go la se tswang se re matlo go sha mabapi. When something is wrong to your neighbor, also know that it will in a way affect you in the future. Thank you.
Re Wilson, go lebogile thata go tswa go Gaborone. As we close, what would be the message from the Azanian People's Organization to the people of Botswana on this sad occasion?
Maybe ke be ka Setswana ke re Batswana ba gaetso. Are Masire, are robalele. O dirile go tlala seatla. Rona re le ba mokgatlo wa Zapo, we are saying there is so much that we have learned from his leadership. His humility, his intelligence, but also the wisdom to hand over the baton when the times are still nice.
Thank you very much.
Ndate Hakere, we have learned one important thing from him.
Yes.
Remember, the 2 term did not fall from heaven. He created it. And he stick to his words. He gave power away. We learn. As the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, we are proud of him. We're saying that he has never disappointed us. We are really saying to the people of Botswana, your contribution is not in vain. We have learned from you. The day we take power, we will follow your footsteps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, that was the day Philip Lamine from the PAC and rest right from Azapo, paying tribute to Ketumile Masire, having spent indeed liberation fight. I mean, the days when they were fighting for liberation in Botswana as well. And indeed, from Question Time, we say may his soul rest in peace. But we also are grateful to the people of Botswana for your contribution to the liberation struggle for the liberation of the Republic of South Africa. Question Time in Nile Galo Bira Gompieno. I have a hot.